Hey YouTube, Tad Unusual here. Feels like it's been a really long time. Probably because it has. As I look back over my channel, I see that it's been almost a year since I've posted anything as a video. I kinda need a break. But I decided that I'm going to jump in with both feet and talk about some fun stuff today. While I was gone, I bought a laser cutter, and I wanted to sort of describe that to you, explain the details, and give you a tour. So let's do it. Here's a laser cutter. It's bigger than you thought. It's about 4 foot wide by 3 foot deep, and about 4 foot high. And I bought it from China through a California reseller. The model and make and all that stuff sort of changes depending on who you buy it from, but generally speaking, it's known as an X700. That has to do with the 700 millimeters across that it can cut and 500 millimeters in depth that it can cut. So I loaded it into my house, and in the back here you can see well, you can't really see that there's a window there, but there is a window there, and I have a piece of plywood and some venting. We'll get into that in a bit. But what I want to do is show you a little bit more about the well, first of all, what is it? This is hardboard. It's that stuff that you put at the bottom of a drawer. You buy it at Home Depot for $4 or so for a 2x4 sheet. 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of it, and what I've been doing is basically cutting it into shapes. I can also do more complex objects like this one. It's kind of a bread box. I don't know if I can open and close. There we go. Open and close it with one hand. But it's a bread box, and it's made out of multiple pieces that were originally flat, and I cut them out. And then even more complicated stuff, like this wedding story box. You put a flash drive inside, and it has these wooden hinges on the side and some fancy artwork. But the idea is to put a flash drive in there with your wedding video, wedding photos on it, and it's a keepsake. So stuff like that. But as you can see, it's different pieces that were flat originally and then have just been glued together. And so how you do that is you use this machine. Give me just a second. I need to set up another shot so I can show you some more. Here's a sample of a cut pattern. And the reason I have this sample is because when I was first learning how to do this, you set the laser speed and power at a certain level, and if you set it wrong, then it basically makes a mark because it's not strong enough to cut through it. So instead, it marks it. So I have this cool demonstration piece because I screwed it up. Let me see if I can get my lighting a little better. But oh, I'm just going to be in there. All right, so this is a draw pattern. The laser head goes back and forth like a printer, but it can also go this way. And so if you remember high school geometry, high school algebra, the x-axis goes like this, and the y-axis goes like this. And then also there's a z-axis, which is how high or low something will go. And so this machine is capable of having you adjust the X, the Y, or the Z. So this is what's known, this pattern is, most of these machines are what's known as a CNC. CNC is computer numeric control. A computer numeric control just means there's a bunch of line dots in a pattern, and you basically program the machine to follow the line, and every so much distance fire the laser. And it does that fast enough that it's able to if you look at it, it's firing all the time. So each of these points in the line are a dot in a Adobe Illustrator file that I found online and printed. I set the settings wrong, so I didn't get a good cut, but like I said, it works great for this example. This is a treasure chest. You can see the sides and top of the lid. It's the kind of thing that a pirate would have. And then over here you can see that there's a series of lines, or a series of rectangle shaped pieces that get put together, and then they get stacked over the top of these rounded edges, and the metal or the wood pieces stick through in these holes. And so this is a pattern, and as far as the computer is concerned, it just goes to X17, Y48, and fires the laser. And then it goes to the next point in the line and fires the laser and fires the laser until it's completed this entire pattern, CNC. So that's an example of it, and I'll show you some software here in a bit, but the idea is very cool. So if you had this pattern and it was cut all the way through the wood, you would be able to piece together this treasure chest. Matter of fact, that's what this is. The other side, I got it right, and so it's gone. You take the pieces out and get some glue and put it together. So let's get looking at the machine. All right, so the first thing to do to get this started is to turn it on. There's a couple of different things for doing that. Emergency stop, that's, help, it's burning the house down. I'm gonna leave that alone. This other one turns on and off the laser, so if you just wanted to do if you just wanted to see if it was going to fit on the board, you could do it without this. That turns off the power supply to the laser, and you can take it out. So if you have kids at home, this is a safe machine. All right, so that's on, and then you can't see it, and I have no way to get at the angle, but off to the side here on the machine there is a rocker switch, and I'm going to flip it. It starts pumps and such, so that it'll be a little noisy. But here we go. All right, so that turns on the light inside. You can see there's an LED. Oh, you won't be able to see, but there's an LED light in there, and that also lights up the LCD console. You load programs in there. Let's look. Okay, so on the front there's a handle. It folds down, but it comes up, and inside here's the gear that makes this whole thing happen. Like I mentioned, there's an X and there's Y. So the Y seems to be shorter than its rated amount at 500 millimeters. But basically, this device, when it's being run, goes back and forth. There's a laser pointer, gives you a feel for it. That sound that you hear is actually air coming out of this tip, which I can turn on and off by blocking it. It's a pond pump. It's basically blowing air so that as the laser cuts into this wood, the blowing air can push the resulting ash out through the hole, creating a cut line. It doesn't have to be a lot of air, just enough to get the job done. So, it's got a nice honeycomb bed, so that as long as the piece isn't too small, it'll keep track of it. And what to explain? So really, how this works is the X and the Y are controlled by a computer box. There's a system for controlling that. The Z axis, the up and down, is controlled here. You turn this knurled knob, and it will raise and lower the bed. How far, you say? That's a good question. The machine comes with this handy dandy measuring stick, and you put it between your work and you put it between your work and the laser, and so you have to adjust it up and down. I just adjusted it, so now it's out of whack. I'll fix that before I fix something. So that's how you turn on the machine, and you put a piece of wood in there. Mine happens to have this fancy piece that lets you, oh, look at all that junk I cut. All right, anyway, this fancy door is open, and the wood can come in and out. I just buy sheets of 2x4 plywood at 1/4 inch at Home Depot, or like I showed you before, the hardboard also works pretty good. It's cheaper if you're just testing something. So anyway, you put your board in, and then you come up to this module, and you load in your stuff. There's a couple arrows to let you make a choice. I've got a few things in there that I've cut in the past, just so I could test to see if it was doing what I thought. Lots of fancy patterns. That's a doll's desk, and there's all kinds of patterns. You pick the one that you want, and then when you're ready to go, you push the frame button, and it will draw a line around where it's going to cut to make sure that you have space and that you're not going into one of these cut areas. So you can adjust this. Let me do that real quick. You can adjust this using the 4 arrows up and down. I can decide where I want to start, and then I can hit this frame button, and it will draw the pattern around where it last cut an item, giving me a sample of how big it'll be. I got room to do that again if I want. I just roll it up here and test the frame. Yeah, look at that. So if I wanted to cut again, I could. And I can see if it's gonna go off the board, because that laser pointer is telling me where it's actually gonna cut. So if you wanted to, you could. This board is not held down by anything. I can position it however I need to, or move the head with these arrows to get it where I want it to go. All right, so having said that, that's how you get the machine positioned to fire. So now, what are you going to cut? That's a good question. Let's look at the computer. All right, here's just a quick shot of Etsy, and I'm basically searching for digital files for laser cutting. And as you can see, there's different files for sale, and they have different prices. So if you want the wood cut guinea pigs, it's going to be $8. If you want this fancy live edge box with the foldy wood, these other ones similar to the ones you saw with my wedding stuff, $6. You want some wood combs, you want some various boxes and souvenir. Hey, there's a large tree of life art. Anyway, different fees, different people design them, and you can also design them yourself. Too much for this episode, but that's how you get the plan. So let me tee something up real quick. I'm going to go down here to the corner. I have an app called RD Works. It came with a laser. So, whoops, that was the wrong one. There we go. RD Works came with the laser, and it's got a pattern of a man warming himself by a fire next to a tree. Too much detail for what we're doing here. I have downloaded a bunch of stuff and saved it. Barrel of monkeys. That looks like fun. Oop. Alright, let me go back in. Barrel of monkeys. Okay. A barrel monkeys game from the 80s. So the way this works is the machine is set so that depending on the color of the line, it will do a different kind of cut. And I've got them marked up here. The two types of colors that I'm looking for are there we go, yellow and green. If it's green, the laser's set for 100%, and it's cutting at 5 millimeters a second, which is the speed. Oh, there we go. You can see it over here. Actually, I turned it down on some of my wood because 100% was scorching it. So maybe you can't see that too well, but 80% power, 5 millimeters speed. That's yellow. That means that anywhere you see yellow in this picture, it's going to cut all the way through. And I've adjusted it down from 100% because it was scorching the wood. Anywhere you see green, it's only doing a 30% power, and the speed is 100 millimeters a second. Also, that's the second priority, so it's going to do that cut second. Actually, that's out of order. You really should cut the faces out and then cut the bodies out. So maybe I'll switch that. But the idea, it worked fine. The idea here is that the lines that you drew make it possible for you to do this cut. And these lines, they're adjustable. If I click on one of these objects, I can change these lines. I can make them cut in a different way. That's a bad example. I'm not going to show you too much there. But the idea being that when you go to cut this monkey, you're going to cut out the yellow part. It's going to leave a mark on the wood, but it's not going to cut through. And on the green, it's going to go full power, or close enough to full power to cut through. And how much full power is depends on the thickness of your wood. So I mean, there's a lot of variables here that have to be calculated. So we're out of time. On the next video, I'm going to set up a cut and we'll go through the entire thing. It's good to be back on YouTube. It's good to see you all again, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye for now.